Hi there! Welcome to this property rental tracker tour and demonstration video. Let's get started. This is the perfect solution to keep track of your rental property stats, expenses, income, and current profit, as well as compare properties with each other. The first thing you need to do is go to the Start tab and click on the Currency box to select your country's currency. Below, we have a table to add all our rental properties. It's important to assign a reference to each property and provide the address and acquisition price, as this will help us calculate profitability later on. Next, we have two tables, one to add agencies or channels through which we rent our property, and the second to add expense categories related to those properties. Finally, there's a small goals table where we can estimate monthly profits, allowing us to compare it with the actual results at the end of the year. I'll fill in the different columns to show you a complete example with several properties, agencies, and categories. Okay, now that we have the Start tab filled out, let's move on to the Expense and Income tabs. Simply click on the tab at the bottom, labeled Income List. As you can see, the Income List and later, the Expense List are straightforward tables where you can add all expenses related to renting your properties. In the Income List, just add the expenses for all properties in the order you prefer. Don't worry, as it will be automatically categorized chronologically and by property. Now, let's add an income. Select the property's reference, the agency or channel through which the income was obtained, and the client or tenant from the left drop-down. Then, input the check-in and check-out dates for chronological sorting. Lastly, add the fee, which can include a basic fee and an extra income, such as a security deposit. The total will be calculated automatically. Additionally, there's a column on the right to add notes to each income if needed. I'll fill in multiple incomes to have a broader list and demonstrate how the spreadsheet works later on. As mentioned earlier, in addition to the income list, there's an expense list that functions similarly. To access it, click on the lower box labeled Expenses List, and you'll see a table very similar to the previous one. Again, there's no need to add expenses in any specific order, as they will be grouped in the subsequent tabs automatically. Let's add a row together to see how it's done, although it's quite simple. The receipt number column can be left automatic or numbered according to your preference. Then add the expense name, category, and select the corresponding property. Next, enter the expense date and the corresponding amount. Lastly, there's a column to add notes or observations to each expense. Surprisingly, this is all you need to fill in. The remaining three tabs are viewers and comparators that allow you to obtain information about your properties and their profitability throughout the year. I'll fill in to have a broader list and demonstrate how the spreadsheet works later on. Let's start with the Property Overview tab by clicking on it. You'll see a tab with various tables and charts corresponding to a property. To choose which property's information you want to see, click on the drop-down in the top left corner. Let's go step by step through the different sections. Under the property name, you'll find relevant information and a brief summary of the property's statistics. Next, there's a graph showing the balance of income and expenses throughout the year, followed by a similar one for profits and a circular one grouping expenses by type. Just below the graphs, there's a small table summarizing the expenses and income throughout the year, with exact figures and the profit balance. If you want a more detailed view of either expenses or income, there are two tables further down. The first is about income, showing all income for that property grouped by agencies and months. It also includes a box on the right summarizing each row and another box at the bottom condensing each column. In the case of the expense summary table, it is very similar, but the rows are divided by expense type category, based on what you filled in the Start tab. Next, let's move on to the Monthly Overview tab. Again, click on the bottom tab and the tab will open. To select the month, go to the top left and choose the desired month from the drop-down. First, you'll see a table of profits by property, with a graph to compare profits from different properties during the month, followed by a table with more detailed statistics. A bit to the right, you'll find a circular graph grouping the income received in the selected month by channels, and again, a table below for more precise data. Finally, there's a graph and a table similar to the previous one, but this time grouping expenses for the month and organizing them by category. Additionally, at the bottom of the tab, you can see two tables, one with all the income received during the selected month, and another similar one with expenses. Lastly, at the top right of the tab, there's a small table summarizing the statistics of the selected month for a quick overview. Finally, let's access the Annual Overview tab, which will give us a global idea of how our properties have performed throughout the year and allow us to analyze their profitability. Let's go part by part to better understand it. In the top left, there's a summary encompassing all our properties, providing a general balance of our investment. To the right, there's a graph to visualize income expenses throughout the months of the year. Just below, there's a small table showing the total income, expenses, and categorized profit for each month. Also, on the right side, you'll see two bars that quickly compare the difference between income and expenses. The next table is a summary of each property's income throughout all months of the year. You can see the total for each property on the right, followed by a bar for a quick look, and at the bottom, a total to compare each month's balance. Finally, there's a very similar table for expenses, grouped by properties and divided by months. Like the income table, it includes totals per property and a small bar graph, as well as a total for each month at the bottom. Before we wrap up, let me share a couple of recommendations with you. First, avoid copying and pasting text from another spreadsheet to prevent formulas or cell properties from breaking. Secondly, if you need to add new expenses or incomes and run out of lines, simply select the number of lines you want to add. Do not select the first or last row. Right-click and choose Insert 3 rows above or below the desired row. However, keep in mind that these new rows won't have the same formulas as the rest. To fix this, select an existing row without any content, preferably not the first or last row. Copy it, then select the new rows you added and paste the copied row. Another way to do it is to select the existing row and drag it to all of the other new ones. Now, everything will work smoothly. And there you have it, that's all. Remember, you can duplicate this file as many times as you need for the following years. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a message on Etsy. Thank you so much for watching.